noon on a school day, but that was her demand and I was happy to oblige. This is such a special gathering for me in my hometown of Niceville, Florida. I'm here to ask you for your vote so that I can keep fighting for you. We got a lot of you here who've been involved in all of my campaigns, dating all the way back to 2010, and you mean so much to me. And I think that things are pretty good around here in Okaloosa County, in Niceville, in Northwest Florida. It's kind of why everyone wants to be here, if you haven't noticed. And those things don't happen by accident. Remember back when we were Scandaloosa County? We had the sheriff doing weird stuff. We had the TDC making drunken sailors look bad the way they were spending money. We weren't really watching over our funds. And then the voters here, the people here, got very serious about those races. And we professionalized our local government. There's no more good old boy system you have around here. It didn't, slip a C note to the building department and get your plans approved. We've got a great team with people like Mayor Hinkle here at Niceville, our tax collector, Van Anderson, our sheriff, Eric Aiden, and I, from the bottom of my heart, because I live here, I want to thank you for what you've done to improve our team and keep our team fighting. We are here in the shadow of Ruckle Middle School and Niceville High School, where I attended and graduated from Niceville. And I was at Publix yesterday, and I ran into the principal, Charlie Morello. And he said, "Man, I'd love to be at your rally, but it's the first day of school, so you understand I gotta be there." And I reminded Mr. Morello, I introduced him to his wife when they were both my favorite substitute teachers at Niceville High School. But there's a culture of excellence to this place, and I want to talk about that a little bit, from our schools to our military mission, to the great defense contractors who support that mission. We've got something here that is so special, and so I want to grow that mission. I want to make sure that Northwest Florida always is making the strongest possible contribution to our nation and to the fight. And in that mission, we have done remarkable things. We are in the golden era of the research lab at Eglin Air Force Base. We have always been the ones who determine who holds the high ground. When I became the congressman for this district, we could take about a 120-mile shot off the Gulf of Mexico onto the land ranges to test our weapons. And because of more than $100 million that we secured advocating for the mission here, we can now take a 475-mile shot to test the hypersonic systems and the supersonic systems that ultimately will protect our great nation. And we were in Paquito the other day, and we had this great candidate forum. And my opponent got up there, and folks asked him a pretty simple question. "Do you live here?" And he said, "I have for months," which is a pretty strange answer if you want to represent an area in Congress. But there was another criticism he lodged against me that I want to talk about, particularly with this group. He said, "Well, we found out Matt Gaetz was down there doing stuff. It was down in El Salvador. What was he doing there? He wasn't working for the people in our district." Did you know that if you went to El Salvador, every single person wearing a U.S. military uniform is from Niceville or Crestview or Navarre, because that's the 7 Special Forces Group's area of responsibility. And so I make no apology to go and make sure that Northwest Florida's sons and daughters are taken care of when they're abroad. Yesterday we had a great rally with Congressman Chip Roy over in Pensacola, and when we were there, I had probably the most meaningful experience of this campaign so far from me. A gentleman came up to me and said, "Matt, I was one of the guys stuck in Niger, and you emailed with my wife, and you saved so many of us and got us out of a situation where we were being held hostage." You see, Niger is a country in Africa, like so many, where people from Hurlburt go and do train and equip missions to see that the forces there become more capable, can fend off the terrorists. Well, under Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, we've been training the coup leaders. So we send our folks over there. The folks we end up training ended up overthrowing the government, and we're supposed to act like that keeps us all safe. Well, what had happened in Niger is that a coup occurred, and our folks got stuck. We had hundreds of U.S. service members, many stationed out of Hurlburt, who were stuck in Niger, and the Biden administration didn't want to admit the failure of their diplomacy, and so they just left them. And these folks weren't getting their medicine, they weren't getting adequate supplies, they weren't getting troop rotations, and I would get letters from spouses saying, I know my husband is running out of his blood pressure medication. What are you going to do to help me? And Niger is probably not a country that we all think of when we wake up every morning, but I want you to know I did. I fought for those people. I went to the floor every day, and I lambasted the Biden administration for leaving them. When they brought their generals before us in the Armed Services Committee, I asked what they were doing to get our folks out. I got eyeball to eyeball with the ambassador of Niger, and because of our advocacy, we got the troop rotations, we got them home, and we kept every Northwest Floridian safe. The fight right now is for our country. And you always hear politicians say it's the most important election, but here's why in this case. Kamala Harris is the most communist, Marxist, liberal nominee of a political party in this country ever. She's Joe Biden's failed record, along with Bernie Sanders' failed policy ideas. Kamala Harris represents the Venezuela wing of the Democratic Party. And we can never allow her to become President of the United States. And so here's what I really think. So many of you have stuffed envelopes for me, made calls for me. This is not just an entertainment venue. I am here to enlist you in specific help that you can provide for me this week, and it has to do with early voting. I beg all of you, please, don't even go back to your car. Go right across the street to City Hall, and you can cast your early vote for me in this election. And here's why. If we, as the America First patriots, wait and save all of our votes for the election day, then we become vulnerable to attack by the enemy because we become too predictable. Look at what happened in Arizona. Carrie Lake, our dear friend, hopefully the next senator from that state, she told everybody, wait, vote on election day. And then what happened on election day? Oh, the machines went down. Oh, some places didn't open in time. Oh, the right people weren't in the right place. Oh, the lines are 8 hours long. Well, some people had other things to do. So make sure you are resilient in your vote and help me get that early vote in. The next thing is, if you've taken the time to be here at noon to hear from me and Senator Paul and Congresswoman Luna, then I know you're among the activists. You're among those dialed in. And there are probably people in your life who aren't as focused on politics as you are, but they trust you. And they will follow a request on your part to go in and early vote. And so before you leave, it won't offend me or Senator Paul or Congresswoman Luna if you're looking down at your phone texting everyone you know that there's early voting going on in Okaloosa County right now. Now, the reason you do this also is things can come up in your life that throw your schedule a little awry. I had such a circumstance last night. I got a call from President Trump. And he said, Matt, we got to get ready for these debates. Be at Mar-a-Lago on Tuesday. I said, well, Mr. President, I got a rally in Niceville on Monday. He said, get on a plane that night, get down to Mar-a-Lago. We're going to start going over all the policies that we put in place to save the country. We're going to showcase how Biden and Harris have really torn asunder our efforts on the border, our efforts on investment into our nation, what we've done with trade to create more jobs, the way they have abandoned American leadership in the world from Afghanistan up until this very moment. They've done all of that, and we have to focus on those policy points. And so all the things I thought I was going to be doing these next few days, I'm not going to be doing. I'm going to be down there in conversations with the president about policy. But it showcases how in any of our lives, a relative could need some assistance, somebody could need help, and we want to be there always to provide for them. So go ahead and get that early vote in. And as much as it's important, as much as I want to win, there's some ideas that are on display in this campaign that need to lose, that need to be defeated. I will never stand for the DEI agenda that is anti-white racism. And my opponent in this race is a DEI instructor. He left, he completed his time in the military, and then he was one of the Obama-era advisors that got a lot of this critical race theory and DEI programmed into the agenda that's wokeifying our military. Then he became a private consultant where he goes in and explains to people how they need to embrace the DEI agenda. And if you think I'm just a politician, you know, putting on a spin here, you can go to the website, aarondimmick.com, a website I own and populated with Aaron Dimmick's own comments, where he's embracing BLM and DEI and a lot of these, what I consider anti-American principles that are not held here in Northwest Florida. So how did we end up in a congressional primary with me running against some dude from Missouri who teaches DEI? And I think we know why. We know why. Because when that Speaker of the House lied to Republican voters, lied to the members, I held him accountable. And I'm not sorry for that. And when we did that, he took the millions and millions of dollars that he had in PAC money and he started spending it against anyone who joined me in that effort. And it is an act of vengeance and revenge, and it's very ugly, and it doesn't help Republicans. But you know, they came around here and they looked at all our local leaders, tried to get them to run against me, and they said, well, you know, we kind of like Matt Gaetz. We like working with him. And then they went to some of our military folks that, oh, well, you know, you want to keep serving, maybe run for Congress? And they said, well, gosh, Matt's kind of always at our bases. He's always caring for our military families. We don't really want to run against Matt. So they had to go all the way to Missouri to find a guy who did a few months of training in Pensacola, which we're glad. We love when people do some training in our area and then want to come back for a tourist visit. But on August 20th, you're going to make me the Republican nominee for Congress. And on August 21st, we're sending Aaron Dimmick and his DEI ideas back to Missouri. The very first person who endorsed me in this campaign was the Kentucky senator we all love, Senator Rand Paul. Senator Paul is a personal hero of mine. He fights for liberty on the Senate floor with an absolute tenacity for the Constitution and for all of you and for all of us. And oftentimes he does this alone or with just a few people having his back. But I'll tell you this, if we had 100 folks like Senator Rand Paul over there in the Senate, we could save this country tomorrow. Please get on your feet and give a warm Northwest Florida welcome to America.